everyone. I'm Linda Nickell, and welcome to the Happiness Hour. Every Wednesday, photographers meet here to connect, inspire, and create. Our guest speakers share their images, tips and techniques, and a little bit of inspiration to help you improve your photography. The schedule for our upcoming presentations is on my website at lindanickell.com, as well as the links to previous sessions on YouTube. Tonight's guest is Joshua Thomas Gray. Josh is a video creator who has been working on a daily empathy project. Joshua often approaches complete strangers and asks them if he can take video portraits with the hope that people will stop scrolling and spend a moment and look into the eyes of someone you know nothing about. In tonight's presentation, Building Empathy Through Art, Josh is going to share a little bit more about his project and how human connection builds a bridge of empathy and understanding. If you're on Instagram, look for him at Joshua Thomas Gray. He's also on TikTok at Joshua Thomas Gray. And you can also find him on YouTube, and I'll link all of those in the show notes. So Josh, welcome to the Happiness Hour.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Linda.
Such
a cool little online group thing you got going on here.
Yeah, we're a small group, but we have a lot of fun, and we've learned a whole lot since we started this project. I started it right at COVID. I think it was 6 days into my COVID shutdown, and I got bored, and I thought, let's see what the Zoom thing is. And now Zoom is my verb. It's not just something I do. It's something I do every day, it seems. But it's kind of worked out for me because photography was what I was interested in. And through it, I've met photographers from all over the world. And you're somebody that I did not know personally. I still don't really know personally. We're going to get to know you tonight. I had never heard of you. And I would have never stumbled on your page. But I was having dinner. You don't know this story, but I was having dinner with my best friend, and her sister-in-law joined us, and she's like, "Hey, what's this thing, the Happiness Hour? I see it on her Facebook feed." And she's like, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I don't know." I said, "I'm just bringing people in and giving them a place to talk about their projects." And she goes, "Okay, there's this guy I follow on Instagram, and it was you." And she says, "I don't know why, but I'm addicted to his page and I'm on it every day." And she says, "You should get him." And so to me, that's a challenge. I'm like, "Hey, Joshua Thomas Gray, my name's Linda." And then the next thing you replied and said yes. And so that's why you're here. So
nice.
I know it's kind of a crazy thing, but people do connect with what you're doing, and people watch what you're doing, and maybe you're kind of in your little shell and you're just doing your thing. But just from what I can tell on your page, you're making an impact. You're making people aware that there's more to, at least on Instagram, there's more to scrolling, and you're making people stop. And I'm curious. So I'm hoping that you'll share a little bit of what you're doing, why you're doing it, and what you're trying to get out of it. So with that, I'm going to pass it to you. My intro for you was pretty brief because I couldn't stalk you. You didn't have a web page that I could go, what else has he done? So please feel free to fill in the holes. Maybe tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started. And with that, this is yours. So thanks again for coming.
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah. And that's also like really crazy to hear the stories, because people don't reach out to you and tell you like, "Hey, I was at dinner and told so-and-so about," so like you don't hear the real life ramifications of what we do online when we post art work and art and stuff that we create on the internet. The vast majority of what the cause and reaction is, like, you have no idea. So sometimes, yeah, you just kind of like, well, I don't know if anything's happening. Other times it's pretty overwhelming, like during this project, which I'll give backstory and then we'll jump back. I'm sure a lot of people are like, what are you even talking about? Like, what is this project that you're talking about? Um, but yeah, so really cool. But yeah, this project definitely connected with lots of people. It went viral numerous times on TikTok and had overwhelmingly positive feedback, which is also cool because the internet can also be a place where there's a lot of negativity. So the fact that this like was actually seen by a lot of people and received well was really cool. But I'll back up and kind of give a little background of who I am and how I even got to this point where I did this little passion project and what else I'm doing. So I'm from Washington State, like north of Seattle. In fact, really right on the border of Canada, closer to Vancouver, Canada than Seattle. Like you could throw a rock into Canada. Grew up there my whole life in a small little farm town. In high school, took a video class, and that's what got me hooked. At that point, I knew that this was what I wanted to do. But the video class actually led me to photography. And I remembered my grandparents had what I knew was a big camera. And I asked them if they still had that. They said yes. They gave me this it was a Sears branded Pentax 35 millimeter with a bunch of prime lenses. At the time, I thought those were stupid lenses because they couldn't zoom. Now I know they're great lenses. So that's what got me started. And I just started shooting anything and everything. And then that led to some friends asking if I could take their senior photos. I did that. And then I did portraits of somebody and they paid me. And I was in high school and I was like, this is definitely it. I can make money and do this. I'm all in. And so to kind of jump forward, I started shooting weddings, portraits, like senior portraits, and then anything else. Like somebody called me and was like, hey, do you take pictures of dogs? And I'm like, absolutely. I love dogs. I definitely take pictures of dogs. So it was that early stages of just like learning everything I can and just shooting anything and definitely anything that people would pay me for. And at this time I was 17, almost 18. And just shooting everything, all of it. Then I got a Canon Rebel T2i because it could do video. And so I started shooting videos again for the first time in a year or two. I kind of just stopped doing videos and started doing photography. Jumped back into video. Video always really interested me because of the ability to like storytell bigger and more in depth, more so than photos. And so pretty quickly into that, I made a video for like a local nonprofit, which led to getting a job at a software company where I was part of an internal video marketing team. So that was like my college and video learning experience for 6 years. And it was actually really awesome. Huge opportunities to grow teams of people and do productions that just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And it led to being able to travel and tell stories about people like customers and stuff like that, which is the pivotal point. Was one of the trips brought me to Haiti and I made a video about a customer and I was like, this is what I really want to do. 99% of the time we were just shooting people sitting at a computer, like using software and just trying to sell more software. And I was like, I definitely don't want to keep doing that. Like, I don't want to just keep adding to the noise of marketing and just pushing people into buying more. I mean, there were so many times where we were literally trying to upsell, making videos to try to upsell stuff that we knew customers didn't really need, but we just wanted them to buy a bigger pack. So we had to make videos strategically to try to get them to do that. So that started feeling like, oh gosh, like why do I do this? What's the purpose of all of this? Do I really want to keep pursuing that? And the answer was no. And so I told my wife, We had just bought a house. We just had a baby. We got a dog, like the whole, American dream. And I was like, I don't want to do this with my life. Like, I want to tell stories. I want to make an impact. I want to do something that feels like it matters. So I'm going to quit my job, but I don't really have a huge idea of what that's going to look like after, other than I'm going to pursue more meaningful work. And my wife's like, that sounds great. Let's do it. So I did. And I started pursuing the idea of any paid for work. I wanted it to be focused on a person or people and telling their story, even if that was for a brand or whatever, like to make money that way. And that led to starting my own agency and doing that for many years. But at the same time, I started pursuing this idea of like growing my own social media following and really wanting to travel to more places and tell stories of other places. And in fact, my friend and I went back to Haiti just on our own dime and filmed a whole series of our travel to this village that we ended up staying with these people up in the mountains in Haiti. They lived in a village where I've been corrected by some people that I know who are from Haiti. They said it's not a witch doctor. That's like a Western thing to say, but I don't know the correct terminology. So know that that's not technically correct. But to any American or Western person, that's what it would be. But she was really bad. She was not letting anybody from the village go to school. She wouldn't let people go to medical clinics. They would have to go to her, and she would make them pay her. And then she would do voodoo, but it wouldn't help. So then people were dying in this village of really simple things. And the village ended up getting sick of her and kicking her out. But the village was known in the whole region as the place of darkness. But it had been a few years and they had turned the whole place around. The whole community was totally different. And in fact, it was an amazing place. We were walking around. It was like the most friendly people the whole time we were in Haiti. And that's why we knew, my friend Joey and I were like, we should go back and film and tell this story. So that was like the first larger scale personal project that I did. We filmed that, we stayed there. And that was definitely like, okay, if I could figure out how to do that kind of stuff, but make a living doing it, then that's the dream. Meanwhile, just doing client work on top of trying to pursue these passion projects and doing more of these passion projects. Because I realized at that time, that was kind of the first passion project that I did. And if you want to do work that you're passionate about, you kind of have to do it out of passion. You spend your own money, you spend your weekends and nights. I mean, kind of what you're doing with this show right here. Like, this isn't paying, this isn't yet, but it's building to something that someday you hope has deep meaning for you and potentially can help pay. And so that you can do it more. At least that's always been my thought. But that always comes through passion projects. Like, you have to do the work, you have to make something. And so that happened. We did that. That was amazing. They had like a whole parade. We filmed this whole parade as they changed the name of their village to the Place of Light. It was crazy and amazing. And I was just like, wow, more people just need to see the good stories and stuff of, like, Haiti is so portrayed only in tragedy. We never get to see just who the people are and how awesome and amazing they are in their day-to-day life, and how this whole village is like rising out of this horrible situation and just like parading down their streets in joy.
So where could we find, I'm assuming you did a full-length video or some project. So is that available, or is this something that's sitting on your hard drive?
No, that's on my YouTube channel.
Okay.
Actually,
Right.
I can share my screen. Maybe. Does that take me away though?
No, it'll put you in the little bitty corner. Yeah, we can still see you. Okay. That's your
So like on here on YouTube, I would play some of these videos, but it always works terribly on here.
yeah.
But just to give a example, like here's the Haiti um videos, and you can watch a whole bunch of them.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't know how well that's playing for you guys.
No, there's some lag there, but that's okay because I'm going to link your YouTube channel if anybody wants to see that. I was just curious because, a lot of people say, I've done this, I've done that. And it's like, where is it? And it's on their hard drive.
Yeah.
And it never sees the date.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I was going to call you on it.
We can talk about projects living on hard drives in a little bit. This one lives on YouTube. I can thumb through and you can just kind of see the images of like this place that we stayed at.
Yeah.
That's my friend Joey. They made this steak after the morning after at sunrise, and carried the steak and planted it in the ground out in this pasture.
Yeah. That's right.
And this dude was like the groundskeeper. And the first time we saw him, he was cleaning up the schoolyard just barefoot, but in like piles of garbage, like cans, things that it's like your feet are going to get cut up, but his feet are just like leather. And he was out there just working, cleaning up the schoolyard. And we did a bunch of interviews with him. He was super cool.
It just kind of goes to show there are stories everywhere we look. It's just a matter of focusing in and extracting and showing what you want to tell, and what really, my friend Valerie uses this phrase a lot. It's what makes your heart sing. And clearly, Haiti speaks to you, and I just based on what you've just shared in just a few words. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this is the mayor from the whole county, and she came and they cut a ribbon and then did the whole parade. Super cool. So yeah, that was like my first passion project. Like I had quit my job. I spent all this money to go to Haiti. We filmed this thing. We made some YouTube videos. And that was kind of the start of this idea of doing more of that. And that led to, I was approaching my 30th birthday, and I knew that I wanted to do something like meaningful and impactful for my 30th birthday. But I couldn't figure out what I was going to do until one day it just kind of hit me that I had no good thoughts about Iraq at all, or the people. And I was just like, man, that's terrible. Like that sucks. That when I think of an entire people and country, I only think of like terrorism, war. Like I know people who have fought there and like are disabled from it. Like there's just really negative condensation of this entire group of people and place in the world. And I was just like, I should figure out if I can go there. So I just started looking up like on YouTube if people were there, ended up finding this nonprofit that does work there, hit them up. And I was like, what are the chances of me like coming alone to Iraq? And like, I could help film some stuff for your nonprofit, but I really want to go and film like my own experience and just like meet people that really live there to replace the thoughts of my entire like adolescence and adulthood that I've been learning about them, and replace it with real faces and people and stories. And they were super awesome, really accommodating. They said, yeah, we can give you like essentially a fixer and a translator to be with you and bring you around. And so I went. I didn't know barely anything about Iraq either. And what I found out is the northern region is called Kurdistan. And it's just like, it's kind of the only way I can explain it, and I'm no expert, So look it up yourself. But it's kind of like how Hong Kong is owned by China, and it's China, but it's their own. They have their own government. They have all of that. Kurdistan's the same. Like they have their own government. They have all their own stuff, but technically it's Iraq. But people in Kurdistan don't want you to call it Iraq because it's Kurdistan. And so I went just into Kurdistan because at the time it was very difficult to get permission and everything to get into Iraq. And yeah, that trip, this again was another like big passion project, which the idea was to edit it into like a longer piece, which has still not happened. And that was in 2019. But I have edited many smaller pieces of content from it. So it's not completely hidden on a hard drive, but I've started and not finished like 30 different edits. If you open like Final Cut, there's just like so many projects that I've begun editing and just can't finish.
Sometimes it takes, I don't know what it takes, and then all of a sudden it comes together, and it will, but I kind of do the same. I open and go, God, I have all these projects. Yeah, not today. Not today. Let's do something else. But it'll come together, and when it does, it's kind of like, why did it take so long to get here? But you'll be really satisfied with it. All right, I don't want to nudge you, but I want to nudge you. Let's get to the empathy project, because that's why you're here.
Yep.
I want to, yeah, I don't want to waste any more time. Like, just like get into it and tell us how you got here, because tell us about the project. And then, because my brain cannot wrap around going up to a stranger and saying, hi, can I video you? I mean, much less I would go up and say, can I photograph a stranger? You're actually going and asking permission to video. And it blows me away how many people have said yes to you. That is crazy. So
definitely. It actually, I can talk forever, so I'll try to go quicker through this, but it all leads to this project. These other projects. So in Iraq, I've essentially figured out like deeply, like, oh, this is definitely it. Like there's this opportunity for people who know how to take photos or video to share the stories of other people. And it's a way to build a bridge of empathy and understanding between people in a way that can reach masses. This has never been possible ever before. This is a very, very new thing. And I'm just like, as much as I can put that out is what I want to do. I had so many people write me about the post that I was making when I was in Iraq and how it was the landscape, how beautiful it was. And just people very interested in like, oh, how were the people? Like and it was crazy because I'm like, if only we could have more people where we just would share the real life of these other people groups that don't get represented as the whole picture. We only ever get to see a tiny little sliver of it when it's typically in the media or news. And so also in all these trips, I would always film slow motion video portraits of people that I would meet. So I was already doing that in more documentary style filming of people, but we were filming like whole things. I wouldn't just like walk up to someone real quick and be like, could I take a video portrait of you? Take it and then leave. It was typically like I was hanging out with these people for a while and I would grab that shot, one of many, many shots of these people. So then fast forward, COVID happened, all these travel. I had planned the next, like I was going to go to Russia, China, like all these places now, Afghanistan, like pretty much can't go to most of the places that were on my list pre the last 3 years, which is really disappointing. Yeah. And so through COVID, just trying to figure out like, what can I do now? It's like, I found this thing. I was like, this is definitely what I want to do. And then it was like, hey, by the way, you can't travel. And like a lot of my clients I lost during COVID. So it was like a double whammy. And we had moved to Venice Beach. I don't even totally know when the idea came, but it was like, why not? There's so many people here and so diverse. I'll just go out and I'll do these portraits like I've done, but more specifically like street photography, but they're video in slow motion with this idea of looking into the eyes of strangers. And it actually is very surprising how many people say yes. More people say yes. I don't really ever show the people who say no, because obviously they don't want to be on a video. People do say no. And some, there was a couple times where I didn't get any, like I just left. I was just like, I don't feel like it today. Like it's not super comfortable walking up to people and asking them. It definitely got easier after like 50, 60. It just becomes like you just do it and you muscle through. But let me share my screen and see if I can kind of pull up just to give a little context. But essentially, the idea, if we go up here, like all of these are, I wish we could show the video, but if you just go and watch some of them, you can get the gist from just the thumbnails. But most of them were shot in 120 frames a second on a Red Raven. But I just have like a GoPro strapped on my chest, and I just walk up to people, and I kind of early on realized that I kind of need to pitch them to try to convince them. So I just narrowed down what I was saying of like, hey, I'm doing a project where I'm trying to build empathy through looking into the eyes of strangers. Would you be down to have a video portrait of you? And sometimes people would want to know more. So I'd tell them like, the idea is that on social media, we're inundated so much with just so much that it becomes a little mindless. And this would hopefully be a moment where you just like stop, because there's just this person's face and their eyes are just right there. And you can spend, it's literally a couple seconds and you just look into their eyes and then that's it. That's the whole video. And pretty much I went out, did one, edited it, and I was like, this is it. I'm going to do at least 100 of these. And I committed to that. And within the first 10, one of them went viral. And people were just really resonating with this. This was a while ago too. So things were open, but some places, still like early on, you'll see there's some people wearing masks. Cause like, even if we're outside and I'm like, hey, you mind taking your mask off if you feel comfortable? Some people are like still at the point of like, no. And so, which I also liked, because it's kind of the street photography aspect of it, of capturing the time that this was happening, was cool. But there's like lots of people that commented of like not liking that they had masks on. But there's something about looking into people's eyes, and I didn't know this, but I started looking up research. There is research on this, and there's evidence. It's not like a super researched, I don't think, but that we really do as humans connect by looking into each other's eyes. And that just the act of looking at someone in the eye can bond you and build empathy, which is incredible. But it also leads to the realization of like, that's why we're really empathetic for people in close proximity to us. And the further and further and further and further you get from somebody, the less empathy you can have for these other people, because you've never looked at them in the eyes or looked at somebody that looks like them in the eyes. And so, yeah, that kind of led to this project, which was super incredible, like overwhelming with the feedback. And it also was the first time I realized like that I did an art project, which was crazy because I've been a photographer and doing video for so long. And this was the first time that I'm like, oh, I'm making art. That's we should probably, as artists, make art. Like, if you're not, maybe try. It was pretty cool. And so the one of the biggest takeaways too were people I got so many DMs from people who were like, thank you so much for doing this. Either they personally or someone in their family or the friends like have a really hard time making eye contact with people. And this was like their first time being able to like really intimately look into the eyes of somebody else. And I got that like on a weekly basis. I know someone personally, I didn't even think about this when I was doing it, but he has a really hard time making eye contact. He doesn't. He kind of like looks down at the ground when he's talking with me or anybody. And he wrote me, and he's like, this is my favorite project thing I've ever seen in my life. And he's just like, I don't ever make eye contact with people. And being able to go through this and every day get to look in the eyes of somebody new has been really amazing. So there was other things that I didn't even think about when I did this project that happened that was really, really cool. But the big thing too was I went into it just being like, I want to do this. It's something that's unique to me. And everything that I've done on social media, like none of it has ever gotten very many views. And I wasn't anticipating that this would either. And by the end of like the 100, it had gathered like more than 10 million views, which was really cool for the first time that I wasn't like fighting against an algorithm that was like just suppressing my stuff and pushing like the most sensational stuff. It was for the first time pushing out what I was making, which has a purpose and is meaningful. And it's not very sensational, but it showed me that like, oh, people do want meaningful content. People want stuff that is impactful and meaningful. We probably just need more people to do it and to make it more culturally normal. And the algorithm will go, okay, like people do want to see this. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if you have other questions about that project.
I don't. And I should have said that to the audience. If you have questions, go ahead and put those in the chat. I was looking for a comment that my friend Mika, who could not join us tonight, she had left a comment for me that said, I started watching Joshua's portraits this morning and I couldn't help but to keep watching. And I think she stayed on a long time. So she's going to watch this recording, but you know, it was a simple pointing people to your page. And the private messages I got were really interesting because I'm not interested in portraits. I'm not interested in maybe humans. I don't know. I spend much more time photographing flowers or trees and things that don't blink or complain about their hair. And for you to be, I don't know, brave enough to go up to a stranger and just say, hey, this is my project. And for them to be so open to letting you film them. Because I think if you came up to me and asked me to do it, I'd be going, no, it would never even occur to me to say yes. And, I probably watched maybe 20 of the videos in a row. And it's like, I get it. I get it. It's still something I'm not comfortable with, but it's it's such an interesting project that the word I came up with the other day was it was captivating. And when you can get me to stop scrolling and spend, you know, 5-10 minutes on your page, and I'm hunting for, random pictures and some of the random videos, just looking for what is, they all connect because they're all humans that are really, they were looking to connect too. And I was trying to put myself in their shoes of why would they say yes? And I still haven't figured that out. But it was really interesting to me. And that was one of the things that I was kind of looking forward to having you, because this is a presentation like none other. We have not done anything like this. You know, we usually have somebody talking about a technique, or we've got someone talking about um maybe story projects, but never anything like this. So it's completely different. I'm looking at a message here that just popped up, and Jameis Wright, she is you're absolutely right. She said people want to be acknowledged, and I think that you gave them that minute. And that's just so cool. Rose has a question. She says, she's asking, how are you earning a living day to day? And I think you had said you were a video, you have your own shop. Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, in short, I work with brands and create content for brands.
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, Jameis says, I am thrilled she had you on, a portrait person. Because she knows portraits are not my thing. But that's the
Yeah.
one thing about, you know, you kind of call this my passion project. I don't know if it is or not, but it is something that I really do enjoy, and I'll acknowledge it might be. But I wanted it to be a project where it was inclusive to every genre of photographer, video creator, whatever it is, because when it's something that I don't know enough about, or something maybe I don't think I'm interested in, like I said, I spent a lot of time on your page just watching and trying to learn to see what made them click or tick. And for you to share like that background information was really, really generous of you. So thank you.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah. Is there anything
Also,
else?
I would say like um a lot of people did say no, and I'm like very just like what you're saying. Honestly, I would probably say no, except sometimes I would give a little push and explain. I'd be like, I understand. Like this is a weird ass, but I would show some people what I'm doing and like the heart and reason and purpose behind it. And that would get more people to then be like, okay, sure, let's do it. And at that point, I'd probably say yes. But the initial ask, um, there's no way that I would be like, yeah, let's do it. Surprisingly, a lot of people, boom, right away. Yeah, let's do it. And I'm like, you don't know who I am. You don't know what I'm going to make you look like.
Right.
And they were so willing to be. Part of me thinks maybe it has a little bit to do with that I'm in LA, and so it's
Maybe.
maybe seems a little. One thing for sure, everyone understands social media. Like almost everyone that I'm talking to here gets it. They're like, oh yeah, this is like an Instagram, TikTok, or YouTube thing. Where other places, there's a little less like, what are you gonna do with it? Like where, what? They
Yeah,
don't
I'd be
totally
a little
register that.
yeah, I'd be a little suspicious. And I know that if you'd like pushed and said, hey, I would have done it to help you out, but I would have been really uncomfortable the entire time, not because of you, but because of my own baggage or my own, you know, my own whatever I'm bringing to it. It's like, why would you ask me? There's like all these other people around me. So, um, I'm looking at a comment from Rose, and she says, Josh, this is so fabulous. You help people feel significant, which we all want. And I have to admit, I'm going to back her up on that. I think that's very, very true. So, and then Karen's got a really nice comment in here, and it says, you're trying to help, or thank you for trying to help more people relate to one another. And I think that is exactly what you're doing. Um, it's just, and then James, your cheerleader in here. She's a portrait photographer, and she's all about the peoples. So gosh, is there anything else you want to add to your presentation? Anything you want to
I
close?
mean, I could talk about all the things for a long time, but I don't know if people are interested in any. I know, like what you were saying, a lot of the time it's more technical, like the how and where I shoot it, how I shoot it, why I
Yeah.
shoot it that way, all that kind of stuff. If we want to
Um,
get
yeah.
nerdy,
Yeah. Get
we're all
nerdy for about,
photographers
yeah.
here.
Get nerdy for about 5 minutes because I
Yeah.
was curious on what you shot it with. I would have never even, I don't know why it never crosses my brain that you were using a GoPro. I'm thinking he's on a tripod with a, is a his DSLR. And then I thought, well, maybe he's just using, like a phone, a camera phone. So why did you select a GoPro with all of your tools that you could have used?
Well, that's so I would shoot the walking up part
Okay.
and interaction. I would rather shoot it on my iPhone because the quality is better, but I also strategically wanted the quality to look bad in the first moments of walking up to people because it works better on social media.
Huh?
And so it was intentional to use lesser quality, which was not my favorite. I even on social media am like setting up lights and I'm filming with a nice camera and making, TikToks and Instagram reels that are way too high of quality and then don't get any views. And so yeah, I just strap a GoPro on my chest and just hit rolling. And I have a giant like cinema red camera in my hand. And I just walk up to people. And I keep a little bit of the walking up and saying hi
Yeah.
to people so you can see that happening. But in real life, I'm literally just kind of walking on a couple streets that I found that I like. The light comes through this one area and I kind of have a wall that I can use as a negative fill. Sometimes it's not. Many of these portraits are terrible, technically. They're lit terribly. I have some that are out of focus. This was like this project. I was like, I'm doing it every day. We're doing 100 of them. I'm posting every day, no matter what. And sometimes I got back and I looked and I'm like, they're not even in focus. They're not even in focus. And I'm like, doesn't matter. It's not about that. It's not about being all technical and perfect. Although obviously I care about that. I'm shooting on like a really nice camera, but it was just like a good learning experience of like the impact, which kind of led me back to like, this was the first art project where it was like, it connected with people. It didn't matter if it wasn't technically a great portrait, if the lighting wasn't perfect and all of that. There was something about it that was connecting with people and making them feel something. That's what it really was. Like people watched this and they felt something, which is pretty incredible. But yeah, I would shoot on the streets that walking up, and then I would just hold my camera sideways, film just like a moment of them. And sometimes you can see kind of the beginning of me lifting my camera up and putting it down if you pay like very close attention. And yeah, I started seeing like lighting that was better in different places. So then kind of like a creeper, I would just kind of like circle these parts of the streets. And many times I was just like, man, I really hope people don't think I'm just being
Crazy.
like a weirdo. And I would pick people essentially. I would try to find people that didn't look, I didn't want to interrupt people's days and like make it intrusive to people. So I tried to find people that seemed not too busy or something so that they could do it.
I was going to ask you, how did you select your subjects?
I would, yeah, like that became quite the skill to develop, where I would look down quite a ways and start looking at people and just quickly analyzing like, okay, there's not a ton of people around. They're coming towards me. They don't look like they're super serious about anything. Cool. And at that point is when you make the commitment that you're going to stop them and just interrupt and just put it all out there and see what happens. And the worst was I would go all the way out to these spots. And if the first person that I asked was a no, that was the hardest to like keep pushing through, because you're just like, oh my gosh. There was one day it was just like, no, no, no. And I was so like feeling like this isn't going to work today. Like, I cannot believe how many people are just like not wanting to do it. And that every no makes going to the next person like exponentially more awkward and harder. And then I'm like, there's many times, even in some of the videos, like I stumble over my words, I'm saying stuff that doesn't even make sense. And it's just like, yeah, it definitely does get easier asking and approaching people, but it also, there's just times where everything just doesn't seem like it's going right, and it doesn't really matter. It's just get that ball rolling and convey what you're trying to do. And people were overwhelmingly positive about, there were many people who said, hey, this sounds amazing. I love the concept and project. I even had people that were like, we were just talking about empathy. Love this project. Support it 100%. I don't want to be in the video. And I'm like, great. That totally makes sense. Love that. Thank you. And then they walked away.
What was your success rate with older people? You being a young person coming up to them, were they creeped out? Were they like, I don't really understand it? How receptive were, because on your page, you definitely do have older people in there, not as many as, younger ones. But
Yeah.
I think that social media familiarity definitely kicks in with a younger crowd. But how did
Yeah, definitely. That
harder?
was something it was harder. Older women did not want to do it. I asked a lot because I really wanted more, because I didn't have enough.
Yeah,
Many of them did not want to hear it either.
sure.
Like, they
Yeah,
didn't totally understood. And that's why, unfortunately, there isn't a huge representation of older women on it.
yeah.
But there are some, and they
There
were
are.
great. They're
Yeah.
super pleasant, loved it. They were super down to be a part of it and do it. But definitely, I think the most no's were older women.
Yeah.
Um, they didn't want to not have their makeup perfect. They didn't want,
Yep.
they had lots of
We're not camera
reasons
ready.
why they didn't want it. Yeah, not camera ready. And also, I don't think they, want some younger guy
Like,
taking video that they don't know what
where it's
I'm
gonna go.
doing
Yeah.
and what I'm going to use it for and all that.
So do
But
you have people sign waivers?
no, because it's all in the street, and it's not commercial use or anything.
Okay.
So
Do you think that you could turn this into something? Is that your
yeah,
plan?
absolutely. I'm thinking about making like an empathy journal. So essentially, like, like gratitude journals where it's like
Yes.
5 minutes, you
Mhm.
write down every morning and you just have like gratitude and you write it down. So making an empathy, like coffee table book, essentially the same thing as a gratitude, but there'd be a photo of the person, and then just figuring out kind of a couple prompts where people could write what I don't want it. I'm kind of struggling with what you would write, because I don't want it to be about um like making up stuff about this person. That's not the point. Which is why I haven't made it yet. I don't know exactly how that would work, but also just a coffee table book, like just prints, I think would be cool as well.
Well, if you ever do get that up and running, would you please circle back and let me know? Because
Yeah,
would love to add it to your links and share that. Um,
absolutely.
so, all right. I don't see any last minute questions, so we're going to wrap up tonight. I do want to, well, Jama is like your biggest fan. So Jama is, she is chatty tonight. Jama's usually, she sits in the corner and she listens and she's so polite, but she is screaming that she has wanted to do this with her camera while traveling for years, and she doesn't have the nerve. And I know this, and now everybody knows she doesn't like to talk to people. It's not like she doesn't like to talk to people.
No,
It's
totally.
it's hard for her to approach them, and she just wants to say that you're awesome, and she wants to know each and every one of their stories. So at the minimum, you got that across in your presentation, and your project is something that, like I said, I would not have stumbled across you, but for Melissa Marmar, who stalks your page. She doesn't even follow me on Instagram, and I'm a friend of hers. But she did. She sat there and said, Linda, every day I'm on his page and I'm looking for the new post. And she goes, I don't know what it is, but it's captivating. And that was enough for me to say, I'll ask him. And she goes, really? Really? And I'm like, yeah, why not? All he's going to do is say no. And then I'll move on to the next person. And when you said yes, she's like, I can't believe that. So it's really, really cool of you to say yes, because that puts you in the hot seat, as if, when you're approaching people to say, let me video you, for you to say yes to me. That's a true gift. And I want to thank you so much for sharing your project. We often kind of glamorize the passion project, but really when you stop and dig deep for your individual reasons, I mean, it's a wonderful project, and most people don't have it in them to do that and to look for that in people. And this is so interesting, and it's really an inspiring project. So I hope that you keep it up, and I hope that, you never know, within, maybe within a year, we'll see a book from you, or whatever that project is. But please circle back. And with that, I'm going to shut down your presentation, shut down your session. If there's anything else you want to say, please do. If not,
Yeah. Just thank you so much for having me. And this crew's great.
yeah.
Definitely stay in touch for sure.
Yeah, no, this group is really, really fun, and there's a lot of different types of photographers in here. And when we have speakers that don't know any of us and are willing to come and share an hour of their time, we are very appreciative of it. Everybody, you can connect with Josh through Instagram at Joshua Thomas Gray. He's on TikTok under his name, Joshua Thomas Gray. I'm going to link his YouTube to the show notes, so you can just click on that and get to him there. Next week, San Francisco-based street photographer Marion Moo will join us to share his images along with his presentation, Urban and Street Photography. Until next time, go out and create something beautiful, and I hope that we see you again soon.